All right. Hi.
Hi,
Can you tell everybody your name?
yes. My name is MauriceCantkier.
And where were you born and what year was it?
I was born in France, Paris, France, 1935.
All right. And your parents, what were their names?
My mother's name was Toby Kleitman, and my father's name was Yankel Gantier.
Well, and how do you say Yonkel in English?
It's John,
John?
I think.
Okay. And
Nathan.
Nathan. Okay. Where was your mother from?
She was born in Warsaw, Poland.
Warsaw, Poland. And what about your dad? Do you know?
He was born in Poland. The name of the town, Skronberg.
Okay. And do you know any little bits about their history, how they came to Paris?
They immigrated to Paris in 1920, I think it was, to look for job opportunities.
What did they do?
He was a tailor and a professional dancer.
He was a dancer.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So what we're talking about today is the Holocaust, and
Right.
your father was taken. Do you remember anything about that day, or what you've been told about that day from your siblings?
What I remember is they were gathering up all the Jews, and we lived in this apartment run by Christian people, and they found out that the Gestapos or Nazis were looking for the Jews to take away. So they hid us in a closet. And when they came, they told them there was no Jews here. And they were very stubborn about it. So they left. And my father was taken in 1941. And he was sent. He went by train. Death trains, I guess. Call him to Auschwitz. In the meantime, my two brothers were born when he was in the camp.
So your mom was pregnant with your brothers
Right.
before, while he was taken, when he was taken.
Right. Twins. And let's see. What I remember when I was real small, we used to go to the art to try out. And they used to have like little, not circuses, but little stands with jugglers and stuff. And my father used to buy us ice cream and take us through there.
The Arc de Triomphe?
Out to try out.
Okay. And so do you know, do you have an idea of what happened to your father when they took him?
At that time, no. Later on, my sister did some research and she found out that they took him because they knew he was Jewish and they put him on a train. She's got the list of names on that train and his was on it.
Because the Germans kept very good records.
Right. And after the war, she tried to find him, and there was no record of him, so she presumed that he was dead.
And then now the records that we found shows when he died and that he did die at Auschwitz.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So after they took your father, what happened to you and your sister and your mom? Your mom was pregnant.
She was pregnant. She had the two boys, and in the Jewish religion, you're supposed to get circumcised. That's how the Jews knew the males, through circumcision. So she never circumcised them. And she hid them in a farm from the time 1941 until the war was over. I think it was 1945.
Was she with them?
No,
And
she couldn't be with him.
where was the farm?
I don't remember.
Was that in France or in
In
Poland? In France?
In France.
Okay.
Everything was in France. And they grew up with these two small farmers. And they treated them like their boys. And they never found out that they were Jewish. They had their suspicions, but they couldn't prove it.
Now, what about you and your sister? Where did you go?
My sister went, at the first time, I think, went to another farm. The Children's Aid Society farmed us out. They found places for us to go.
And they were helping hide you?
Right.
Okay.
And they sent my sister and I to this farm. I was with her maybe a year. I don't know how long. And then I was sent to another place. For what reason, I don't know. But these people, they treated me like their son. They're very kind. Poor little farmers. You know, they had some geese, pig, stuff like that.
Just a little farm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And actually, I had to work on these farms. I was sent there as a laborer.
Wow.
So-
How old were you?
Well, between 6 and 13.
So was it an agreement that they would take care of you if you worked?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I
But they took good
They-
care of you though.
Yeah,
Did you get to go to school?
for a little bit. And I was always an outsider. I couldn't figure out why. But some of the kids there suspected that I was Jewish.
And you didn't even know what that meant.
No, not at the time. So I was always outside looking in. Couldn't figure out why.
Were you ever confronted by the Germans? Or in contact with the Germans?
I had a couple of contacts. One was when I was in this, I don't know if it was a sanatorium.
So like a hospital?
Yeah, and they had these sirens that went off when there was going to be a raid, and they made us go outside, cover our ears and head. Anyways, when the Germans invaded Paris, the Germans came through that hospital, and it was near Easter time, and this German offered me an egg, like an Easter egg, and I wouldn't take it. I was afraid it was poison. So he took a bite. Then he gave it to me. I took it and I ran off. But apart from that, I just remember another time they were walking down this big avenue, maybe Art Drive, and this one German had this baby, and he took him by the leg and smashed him against the wall. This,
And you saw that?
Yeah,
And you were 5, 6 years old?
I was about maybe 7, 8. Not too sure.
They were just killing people with just out in the open with no issue.
All I can remember was a column of Germans, hundreds of them, marching.
So, how was your health? Were you ever sick?
I had a spot on my lung.
Spot on your lung?
That's why they took me to that sanatorium for a year or two. It was run by nuns. And they knew I was Jewish. And I was treated. They were trying to convert me, I guess.
What did they make you do?
Well, every day we had to go to confession, whether we did anything or not. And I found out after a few times that I had to lie to tell them I did something so they would let me go. They made me say these little beads, say,
The rosemary beads?
yeah, say the prayers 5, 6 times, whatever. They say, okay, you can go. So every time I went there, I made up something so I can get out of there.
So they were forcing you
Yeah,
against your will to change your religion, and you
Well-
played along so that you would survive.
I knew that if I played along with them, they'd leave me alone.
It would be easier for you.
Right.
What else? Anything else that you remember happening while you were in the hospital?
I know I got real sick and they gave me a big needle in my back and I don't think I could move for about a week. It was like I was paralyzed.
Really?
And I used to have these dreams like I was falling off a precipice.
Yeah, you said it right. Precipice.
But I could never hit bottom. I was falling
Wow.
all the time. I had this dream for the longest time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did what about your didn't you have your tonsils taken out?
Yeah, I don't remember where, but I remember that they didn't have any anesthesia,
They didn't have any anesthesia to
No.
stop the pain?
right? So they just took him out with nothing.
That must have hurt.
Yeah,
Wow. That's so they're just drugs weren't available or
they were
because of the
running
war?
out of everything.
Yeah.
The only thing we ever got during the war was from the Red Cross.
From the Red Cross?
I remember they used to send milk. So I ate milk. To make it last, my mother made it half milk, half water.
Yeah.
It just didn't taste good. But they send these chiclets. I don't know if you know
Yeah,
what
like
that
chewing
is.
gum? Was
Yeah.
It, yeah.
What's that? Coated.
Yeah.
And I used to take one, chew it all day, then put it in a glass of water at night so I could chew it again
Oh, well,
the
how,
following day to make him last.
so how were you after the war? How were you reunited with your family?
My mother had 2 brothers. One lived in the States, the other one in Canada. And they got together to put all the papers together to bring us all to Canada or the United States. And that was the first time I saw my brothers. They were like 7 years old at the time.
So the last time you saw your mom before you were reunited was when she was still pregnant. Before
Yeah.
she had the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she knew how to find you and your sister. And
She knew where we were and all that.
So
She didn't have the resources to put us all back together and ship us out. That's why her brothers made all the arrangements.
okay. And when you left Europe, you went through Ellis Island.
Right?
Do you remember that?
Very, very well. They found, like I said, a spot on my lung. And they kept us a week. And that looked like a jail cell. They had bars on there. You looked through the bars, you could see the Statue of Liberty.
That's an odd juxtaposition there.
Yeah.
How did you feel leaving Europe? Were you excited and happy, or do you remember being on the boat?
I remember the trip on the Queen Elizabeth or the Queen Mary. It's one of the big ships at the time, one of the biggest ships. And we're in third class. It was like the bottom. And I got lost a few times. She ran all over the place. My sister was always chasing me and my brothers, trying to find us. And I remember they used to, when we went for dinner, they had these white rolls like buttons. I couldn't believe it. I used to stuff my pockets with it. So I have something for the following day.
Because you didn't think you would get more food?
Yeah.
Wow.
And in France, all we had was black bread.
Black bread.
Yeah, during the war.
Okay. So you have a friend, Hans Frolic. Where did you meet him?
When we moved to Canada, I lived after my mother kicked me out. I was around 15, 16 years old. I moved in. Helen took me in, my sister. And she had her husband, Meyer, at Hans, working for him as a mechanic. He was like a diesel mechanic in Germany. And he gave him a place to stay, him and Bridget, in their house. Which is weird, because he is German. He went all through that war.
That's why I asked you that question. One of your lifelong friends is German, and
They came over, I think it was 1956. And I've known him ever since. And good people. Well, you know them.
Yeah. So if you look back on everything you went through and where you are today, how would you say these experiences affected your life? How's it shaped you?
Well, very judgmental, stubborn, and not believing in almost nothing. I just, like I'm walking in a fog or in a dream. I just lived from day to day. I never looked past today or tomorrow. Even when I got married, your mom, she's the one that proposed.
She asked you to marry her?
Yeah. I had no intention of getting married. But then I had 2 jobs. I worked in a power plant. And
in Toronto?
in Toronto, and drove a cab part-time to make a living. Before that, I just had the one job, but then I had your mom or mom to take care of, so I had to get another job, but that was okay. And I was, like I told you before, I've never had anything or anybody I never thought I really care for me, so I just brush everything off.
You didn't think anybody cared about you?
Yeah, except my sister, but the only one.
And you didn't have a good relationship with your mom?
No, bad.
Why do you think that was?
I think when I look back, it's because of what the war did to her. At the time, I took it personally, but I can see now where she was, the way she was.
It was difficult for her,
Yeah, very difficult.
having her children away from her for so long.
Right. And anyways, then your mom got pregnant with you. My whole attitude changed. I said, he's gonna know. He's got a father. So I'm thinking to myself, I never told anybody. I says, no matter what happens, my lifetime, my boy's gonna know. He's got a father. Maybe I was thinking that I never had anything,
Right.
Whether you're rambunctious, good or bad, didn't make any difference. As long as I knew you were here, that changed my attitude a lot. And I went to, after I got divorced, I was only married about 6, 7 years. I went to these seminars, feel-good places. I don't know how to describe them. And I learned a lot about myself by just listening to other people's stories and that.
Parents Without Partners?
Well, that was a place to take you guys to meet girls.
To meet girls.
And, but no, these seminars were like, I was telling Charlotte, she knows it, like, I'm okay, you're okay. I can't remember the name of the authors, but they really made you look inside yourself and made you think that everything that's happened is not because you're bad or anything. It's a circumstance around you that made you that way. I had to realize that a little bit.
You've read a lot of books in your life too, haven't you?
Yeah.
But you didn't really get to an opportunity to go to school very much or go on to college or anything like that.
No education. I always say I got my education on the street, how to survive. And that was most important to me.
And you learned some trades?
Yeah, it's upholstery.
Upholstery?
Yeah, truck driver.
Air conditioning?
Yeah, well, that was later on, here in life. I changed jobs about every 6 months. My first job was in a shoe factory, putting soles on shoes and paid 50 cents an hour.
Wow.
And I used to go home and give my money to my mother. And one day, I kept the change to buy some cigarettes. And she was pissed, or she was mad that she didn't get it all.
Wow.
But anyways, my sister, she can tell you a little more about her.
And your sister's alive, and she lives in Hamilton now, right?
Yeah,
In Ontario. And your brothers are also alive, and they're both in Toronto.
right, right. And I remember I used to take food out of the fridge and give it to her. She kicked my sister out too, like she was competition for her. She was like about 16, 17, real pretty. She didn't like having her around.
Wow.
And I used to bring her food. And when she had extra money, she used to bring it to me.
And the last thing I'll ask you is when do you think you realized and understood that your heritage was Jewish, and what had happened was because of that?
Well, I realized I was Jewish when we moved to Canada, 1947, 1948. Because, but what happened to me, I never given much thought. I think it's blocked out. Probably be able to recall everything under hypnotism. But I never saw any need for it. They say it makes people feel better. I can't see how bad memories can make you feel better, especially if you're over them. Stubborn like that.
Well, thanks for sharing your story with us.
Okay.
All right. We good?
That's it?
I think so.
Okay.
Is there anything else he wants to add?
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say, just on your own, or?
Yeah,
Oh, well, go ahead.
I'm just happy now that I'm with my son, my grandson, and I want him to come over here so you can get a picture of him with me.
Okay, we'll get Charlie over here to see you, sit with you. While we're waiting for that, do you remember that your sister was interviewed and filmed by Steven Spielberg?
I don't remember, just what she told me.
Do you know anything about it?
Not really.
Okay,
You'll have to ask her.
we'll find out. All right, here's your
Come
grandson.
here, Jerry. Sit down.
Hello.
This is my pride and joy.
Your pride and joy.
Number one grandson.
You're a goober. You're a goober.
Everything that's happened brought me to this. Everything that's happened
Yes, it did.
brought me to this point in time.
It is.
So it's gotta be good.
It is.
Like,
You're welcome.
thanks, Dad. Thanks, Charlie.
Love you, Jerry.
Is that it? That's it.